In late May and June of 2022, Amy and I spent 3 weeks in Italy. Had a great trip, and we spent the first several days of our trip in Rome and some hill towns north of Rome within the red circle on this map. One of the first things we saw was the Church of St. Ives, shown here, which per Amy has one of the biggest and highest domes of any church in Europe. We walked through the Piazza Nevrona, which had an incredible sculpture and an equally incredible obelisk at the top of it. There are lots of beautiful churches in Rome, including this Church of St. Louis de France.
Juste faire en sorte que ta partition ne cache pas ton visage. Merci. Et c'est et inclita, et c'est pas inclita. Israël. S. Et c'est pas Israël, je sais pas ce que tu mets comme R. Fais-moi le deuxième.
Here's the Pantheon, which is an amazing architectural accomplishment so far back in history. This is the Pantheon. Here's the Trevi Fountain, one of the popular landmarks of Rome. Almost 50 years ago, Amy lived off to the right, and every day almost would come up to go to a library, climbing the Spanish Steps there, up to the top, and then around to the left. That's a hotel there. John Keats, the author, died in that building. Spanish Embassy is right over there, which is why it's called the Spanish Steps, I guess. Here's a panoramic view of pretty much central Rome. Church steeples sticking up everywhere. And the river Tiber is right down there where the green is. Runs kind of along the somewhat the west side of certainly the downtown area. Next we move to a hill town in north of Rome called Tacarina, and here are some swallows, I think, around our B&B. Here's where we're heading. Pretty much right there, and there's a big bridge down the bottom, elevated bridge, and then a steep climb, and back over this way there's steep stairs to get there, about almost a mile, I think, really. We're heading up to Bagno Recchio, something like that. Classic hill town on a small eroding outcrop of volcanic rock that's causing some of the houses to fall off ever so often. Cars aren't allowed up, all the golf carts, and not so long ago you had to walk on a trail down below there, but now they built this elevated bridge that gets you up a little easier, I guess, because the ridge that the trail was on is eroding away. And here we start to climb up, and as mentioned before, the trail was down there somewhere, and then over there, I guess, were some really steep steps. On the old road that was replaced by the new bridge, gradually going up to the city. Right over there is where we started on a point. Went around down a trail, stairs, followed that new bridge, and gradually up and up to here. And this is the far end of the town, looking down. Some nice little farms, Italian farms, classic down there. The Etruscan tombs near the town of Tarquinia. The Etruscans preceded the Romans as a civilization and buried their dead under these little stone houses. Sometimes the tombs were accessed by a shaft, and inside were all these paintings. Here's some ruins of ancient Rome, and you scroll around, and there is the famous Colosseum of Rome. We luckily got an amazing table at a restaurant for lunch, looking from this view toward the Colosseum. The next part of our trip was spent in the Naples area and the Amalfi Coast area within the red circle on this map. Here's the view from our B&B room on the Amalfi Coast. Just wonderful. The ocean is right down there, and this is the valley of the Lemons that we are in, and there's lemons everywhere. There's a grove, but here, right near the hotel, there are bunches of lemons. All of them are covered, I guess, to keep birds away, but you can't see them, but huge yellow lemons on all those trees. Here's some of the lemons near our B&B. This is one of maybe the best view of the Amalfi Coast from Villa Cabroni. Looking east there. Down there is, I think, the town we had dinner at last night. And down below is the narrow roads. And just over the hill there is the little town of Amalfi, and way on out beyond that ridge is Positano, which is maybe the most famous of the towns, and little valleys going up above each of these towns. Just an incredible place, scenic wise, but it's a disaster driving wise, people wise. Too many people, too many cars, not enough roads, I guess. It's the ocean, the Amalfi Coast Drive, and the caves we're visiting. After parking precariously with a foot or more of my car sticking out the road, are up here. The cave church is more accurately described. Santa Maria de Olorina. And here's the upper level of the church. Faded frescoes. Go inside, and remnants of some really beautiful frescoes. And here's the third level.
Is every graffiti was all graffiti? We know. There's some decoration. Maybe they take the inspiration of the Roman pavement, marble pavements.
Right.
This.
Okay.
You can see a Roman per layer payments.
Right, yeah.
With this decoration.
Mm-hmm.
But this was painting not in the Renaissance, but was
No.
painting 1,000 years ago.
This is the Salerno Cathedral, a huge place. That's one part of the sanctuary there. And then where the priest is talking here, and over to the right is another one. Amazing.
It's said to be the most beautiful medieval church in Italy.
This is Herculaneum, the ancient Roman city that was destroyed by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius along with Pompeii. It's much smaller. I don't know, 15, 25 acres maybe here, I guess. And looming up above it first is the modern city that sits over it. And then above that is Mount Vesuvius. And I didn't realize this, but the amazing thing is this was totally buried until I think the early 18th century when a farmer discovered it digging a well. All that from there up to there was covered with dirt until it was discovered and they started evacuating. For a while they did caves up into it, tunnels, and then they finally just opened up and exposed the whole thing. The river is now over that way, but back in the day of Herculaneum, that was the beach right there. Rocks that slid down to the beach a good ways. And I guess the water came up here because this is built pretty strongly. And people kept their boats in those oval-shaped arches that are right there. So, a great remnant of the past in Roman history for sure. Here's the really old and the new. And there's one of the entrances to the town, I guess. And up there, of course, modern houses overlooking Herculaneum. Well, our B&B for tonight, June 7, is, I guess, the best scenic place for sure. Yet the one at the Amalfi Coast was great, but this one might be better. This is our B&B, top floor of a really nice place with a big balcony here. There's one other room over there. But here's why it's so great. Right up there is the volcano Vesuvius that wiped out Pompeii and Herculaneum, which are down below me. And then if I scroll around, way over there is the Amalfi Peninsula. We stayed, let's see, we went up and over the peninsula right there and stayed on the other side in the Valley of the Lemons. That's the end of the island there. And you can barely see it, but that's the Isle of Capri. Down there is the southern suburbs of Naples. And Naples is up that way, where the sun is setting about 30 minutes or so.
And to Matera, which is one of the most beautiful towns I've ever been to, with its whitish buildings. It looks so much like Jerusalem along the side of a large canyon. A lot of the buildings are dug into the limestone walls, and it's simply a great place to visit.
This is quite a sight. A canyon, birds, and a narrow stone walkway goes down there. You can't really see it, but carved into the side of the mountain is the church, the crypt of original sin, with frescoes dating to the 9th century, I think. And amazingly, there's a modern railroad right up there. And we just came from the Torah over there, up on top of the ridge.
Inland from the beach, we went to the town of Ambarella, which is famous for its trulli houses. They're built with roofs of stacked rocks. Amazing the skill that must be required for building these. The town of Poligano is perched on a bluff overlooking the beautiful waters of the Mediterranean Sea and provides some really great ocean views. For the rest of our trip, we drove back to Rome and the area kind of southeast of Rome. Probably the best B&B host we had on the whole trip was Tazan at this B&B. Amy had mentioned to her that she would like to see San Sebastian Abbey, which is privately owned, not open to the public. But Tazan somehow got a friend of hers who had access. He drove us there in his ancient car and gave us a guided tour of the abbey that dates to the 12th century and which was once a monastery and then later a nunnery and then privately owned.
This is our B&B hotel next to last night in Italy. What a deal. A little over $100. And there's where the host lives, on at least 4 or 5 acres of land south of Rome a little ways. Right over there is where we'll be having breakfast. And walking to our luxurious lodging straight ahead. A beautiful pool and 2 suites, large suites. One on the left, but ours is on the right. There's an entrance area there, lobby, and then that's our suite on the right. A huge place with a huge bathroom, huge shower room, sitting room, and a bedroom. And that's Amy coming to breakfast. This is the crypt in the cathedral in Agania, and the most colorful, with paintings on all of the walls, and ceiling and mosaics on the floor. And very well preserved are a lot of them. Relics of St. Thomas Becket of England are supposed to be in that container right there. Most colorful of any of the churches we visited, I think. I'm on a lookout structure at Hadrian's Villa. The villa is stretched out over half a mile or so. Over there, way to the and all around, it's basically. I had to go off the marked trail a ways, but right there is Hadrian's Palace, the palace. There's not much left of it. As a guy I talked to said, he was hoping for more. There's some bigger structures like that on back, and even a big building, I think, right there. So that's the fireman's house. As always, we had some wonderful food in Italy, including these and a lot more. First was zucchini pasta, then pizza marinara, then Roman-style artichoke hearts that were wonderful, and finally, my all-time favorite, just plain spaghetti marinara.